Welcome to the Great Awakening Show. I am Joanne, Divine Life Yogini, and on this week's show, we have Jane Novak. Jane is an international speaker, author, philosopher, and spiritual teacher who empowers sensitive people and truth seekers to find peace, to realize their true nature, and to live a heart-centered life. Her book, How to Be Highly Sensitive and Empowered, a Revolutionary Guide to Empaths, is by Watkins Books and is on Amazon. Yes, Jane, thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us all of your divine wisdom and your truth. So, Jane, the first question I'd love you to answer is, humanity, we are going through the greatest spiritual awakening this world has ever seen. What does this mean for you and for us all?
Well, I would say that, for a while, for me, this great spiritual awakening was something so grandiose, was something so, something I have to attain. But I only realized, especially while writing, actually, it was a process of writing a book. And after, I had this feeling of that it's actually a very natural thing for all of us. But that's why we crave it so much, so that big grand thing becomes like it's actually our true nature.
Yes, that's so true. And it's not, sitting and being in, or meditation for, 5 hours a day. It's a simple alignment of heart, mind, soul. And it's just, coming back to that wholeness, to that balance within, isn't it?
Absolutely. I could not agree more with you, Joanne, because, I always, when I used to work with clients, I would always say, here are the tools, here are the practices, go ahead, practice, meditate, I outlined everything, but remember, the greatest experience that you're going to have is just day-to-day situations, day-to-day lives, when we actually can be present and be who we truly are, our true nature. And I agree, it's not something to attain. It's right here, right here. Very intimate.
Yes, it is. And it is about going within and self-examination and self-discipline and looking at who we are, the good and the bad, the light and the dark. It's all about, isn't it? Finding that truth within, which is the ultimate know thyself. It's the ultimate examination, isn't it? That everyone wants to know, know thyself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel that's what we thrive for. And a lot of people, right, they have this desire to be happy, thinking, I'm going to attain this. This will help me. This relationship, this, next object. And then we go to more subtle objective desires, like, let me attain peace. Like there's something, a prize at the end of the road to attain peace. But then you go within, you realize it's nothing to search for. It's not something you have to search for. It's right here, right now.
We already have that within. It's just a state of being. It's changing your state, changing your mind, changing your consciousness, heightening it to come into that state of being. That's so beautiful. Yeah. And you have just, written this. Well, before we get on to your beautiful book, I just want to know, can you please describe to our audience, what is an empath? And how can we discover if we are an empath? Because there's always like, oh, I'm an empath, you're an empath. Please describe what that means.
Absolutely. You're right. There are a lot of kind of definitions. And if you start Googling and searching, it can be really frustrating because there's so much information out there. My definition of an empath is a highly sensitive nature that is so attuned to everything around, to the energies, to the, invisible realms, to everything that's taking place that's not, you cannot grasp with 5 logical senses. So it's something deeper than that. And empaths are very perceptive of the world, and they perceive the world a little bit differently. They're very sensitive. But when they don't know that it's actually a gift, they can feel like it's actually a curse, because you react to everything differently in the world, and you feel like there's something wrong with you. So, being an empath is something that we can understand about ourselves. And I always say, and then move beyond the label of just being an empath, and understanding that it's actually your true nature and your gift to awakening. Because if you are sensitive, you are, you can remember who you are. It's easier to remember who you are. And I don't know what could be a greatest gift other than this, because that's what we want anyway. That's what we thrive for, to remember our true nature of happiness and peace.
That's true. That's so true. And I really feel that there are so many people understanding that they are empaths at this time, and they're here on this earth plane to help, to heal, to help others, to raise the consciousness, to heighten the vibration of the planet. It's so important. But how can we control this gift of being an empath? Because it must, when you're so sensitive to other people, to energy, to negativity, to all these different things, it's very difficult. I call myself as an empath, but I spend a lot of time alone, because I feel, and that's probably one of the traits of being an empath. But it's about having that beautiful, compassionate, open heart, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Spending time alone is something a lot of empaths crave. And that's something that gives them that recharge to connect back to their nature, and being highly sensitive. If I would have, if I would have to describe, if someone feels and they're unsure if they're empath, if you've been called too sensitive your whole life, if you feel overly emotional, if you realize that there's more to this world than what you see with this physical eye, and you always had these deep questions: who am I? What am I here to do? What is my true nature? So if you are, I sometimes refer to empath as truth seekers and truth lovers, and they want to get to that truth of recognition of their true nature. And honestly, nothing will do unless they remember who they are. That's kind of like almost like a purpose. And then you said, you're absolutely right. Empaths feel drawn to help others. It's so innate in us, because we really want others to feel comfortable. It just happens automatically. I always say, if someone is in the room, just one person in the room, you, even subconsciously, you will be tuning in to feel what the other person, how is the person comfortable, uncomfortable? What can I do to make it better? But it can be challenging when we go into the fixing mode, when we feel like we have to mediate all the time, we have to save the world. If it comes from the lack, that comes from unempowerment. And that's when the challenge can be. And also including going to crowded places. You can feel great one moment. You go into the crowded place, like, boom. I remember where I used to be, I would go food shopping, like feeling completely okay, walking out, like body aches and pains, and I'll feel tired, exhausted. And I'm like, I'm such a weirdo. I don't know what's happening, Why am I feeling this way? So there are a lot of things that empaths feel that kind of unexplained. I also work with clients who were misdiagnosed and put on medication because of that. There's nothing wrong with medication. It has its own space. But there's a lot of empaths that are actually highly sensitive, especially in their teenage years, that just need proper support.
Yes. And as you said, going in, we pick up energies, and you can feel the negativity of it's like going into a supermarket. It's like going into a great big soup bowl of energy, isn't it? You know, all different people's energies. It's like the swim baths, you know, going in and it's, so you're diving into that energy. So there's so much about it. How can empaths, you know, set boundaries, you know, change their energy, protect their energy when they're out there so that, you know, they don't pick up on that negative energy so much, which I think is quite difficult, you know, because then that leads to, you know, destruction for them, doesn't it? And burnout for them.
Absolutely. You know, you mentioned this earlier, know thyself, and that goes to knowing your self, understanding your nature. And by nature, I mean also being physically sensitive person and also your deep nature, your true nature as well. So, I teach something called self-awareness practice. So we have to become self-aware of our own energy, of our own thoughts, feelings, desires, whatever is happening in our mind. So because when we're not aware, we kind of dissolve into that soup of energy, like you said, within the world. And a lot of empaths, they feel challenged, they feel swayed, you know, from kind of like, they don't know what they want. They don't know where to go. They're kind of like completely feeling lost. Sometimes you will open the refrigerator and it will take you 10 minutes to decide, what do I want to eat? So even to these little small details in daily life. And, you know, when we become aware, like the first thing that I say, be on your own and see what that energy feels like. When you're uninterrupted by anyone, just allocate this time, maybe daily for a little bit. Just sit with your feelings, whatever comes up. Notice what it feels like to be by yourself, and notice what happens when you're around people. Maybe you behave differently. Maybe you, you know, we all probably have a little bit of that persona that we put on with other people. But even beyond that, you know, notice what's happening within you, you know. So when you go out in the world, it's sort of like you have this memory foam, kind of like already, you know what it feels like to be you. And when you go out in the world and you feel incoming energy, you can, you know, you can see if it's an incoming energy or it's something you're projecting yourself.
Yes. Yes. We have to be careful of that, because sometimes, you know, we are receivers, aren't we? We're transmitters and we're receivers of energy all the time. And we've got to be careful we don't pick up. But being a sensitive, that it's so easy to pick up other people's, you know, negativity, you know, and take it in the wrong way. I've felt that a lot, especially at this time. There's so much confusion in the world and there's so much bombardment on the internet and TV. And, you know, it's like, it's so many, it's coming at us from all angles, is it? So yeah, having that space and going within and finding, you know, using all these different tools, to help us have that strength, you know, to be in balance, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, and I would say that, yes, there's a lot of information out there, especially in this digital age. It's so easy to get lost scrolling through your social media or watching TV. Especially sensitive people, they have to be mindful of that, because, you know, we cannot control other people, their behaviors, whether negative or positive, right? So it's really on us in a way. So we have to clear ourselves out. That would be the first step from incoming data that's constantly bombarding us, and allow ourselves to feel, to be alone, to be by yourself without even, you know, without even maybe playing music sometimes. See how you feel, just complete silence, you know. See how that feels without any incoming information, incoming data. So, and then when we feel stronger and more established in our empowerment, that is going to be easier, because you're going to raise your vibrations And you're not going to be, well, first of all, the universe will match you with kind of other people who are on the same frequency. So I always say you don't have to worry about, protecting per se yourself, because when you take care of yourself, your vibes will be raised, and there'll be people that are more or less on that same frequency. So, but when something happens, when we feel empowered, when we feel present, it also not going to affect us so much, because we established ourselves in our true nature. And that's important. That, like you said, going within, that's exactly what I mean by going within. Taking care of yourself, establishing yourself in a true nature, recognizing that it's not something to search outside of yourself. It's right within you.
I know it's the old cliche, go within, everything is within, but it is true. I'm a yogini and I meditate every day, and it's just, engulfing myself with that beautiful light here, that divine love light energy is just, it fills me up. And nothing in that 3D, nothing out there can do that. I have to go within to get that, to fill my vessel. It almost, to plug in, if you want, plug into the universe, isn't it? To plug into God, Goddess, whatever you want to call it. But that's, it's beautiful. But have you got a copy of your book there? Because your book, How to Be Highly Sensitive and Empowered, a Revolutionary Guide to Empaths. Yeah.
Yes, I do. I have it right here.
Oh, brilliant.
Yes.
Please describe it, because, highly sensitive and empowered. That's the key, isn't it?
That's the key indeed. Yes. It's not about turning off your sensitivity, because a lot of people ask me, like, how can I shut it off? How can I turn it off? It's really embracing and accepting yourself. I mean, it sounds cliche as well, exactly where you are. But we're going to dive deeper and say, can you accept yourself being highly sensitive? Can you accept yourself being highly emotional at this point? Can you accept yourself that you operate in the world differently, that you have maybe different values in life, without trying to change anyone to fit your narrative? If you can do that, if you can allow yourself to have your own journey and trust that everything will align as a result of that, then you are on the right path. And that's exactly what this book is about, with different tools, including how to connect to your intuition, heal yourself in relationships, and, on your own relationship with yourself. Also, how to manifest and activate your gift as an empath. So it's kind of like a combination of the tools and strategies and my personal stories that help me to share these. I used to share these tools. I used to use these tools, but also how I was able to actually grow in this journey, because you think you know something, the next step comes in your life and you'll learn something else. It's a never ending journey. And it's, that's why I wanted to share it, so people can have this book literally in their hands, handy if needed, whether they need to search for a certain tool or just, sense that energy, because this book is all about energy. And that was my intention while writing it as well.
Yes. Well, we are made up of energy. We are spiritual energy beings having a human life experience, aren't we? Yes. And it is. And this, could you just elaborate a little bit about the manifestation, of that? Because I know that, it is energy, and it's the feelings of our heart and our imaginations that go out in to, give us a little bit about, in your book, about the manifestation part as an empath.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I actually mentioned that as an empath, you have that gift because you are highly sensitive. So you perceive the world differently, and you have this sense of if you're going in the right direction or not. You can take care of your anxieties. You can clean up, so to speak, all of these negative mind stuff if needed, because you are highly sensitive. You're more attuned to that. So that's one part of the gift. And I actually share in the book how I manifested that book. And that it doesn't require any effort, that it doesn't require how everybody else does it. So I share a few things. I go beyond law of attraction, introducing law of assumption, based on Neville Goddard.
Neville Goddard, love him. Yeah.
I love him. Yes.
Oh.
And, it's a little bit more of a deep dive into understanding actually how our feeling and state of being affects our life, daily life, and whatever we manifest. Because we manifest, it's kind of like I know it's a word that we have to use, but it's almost, some people use it as a verb, some people use it differently. I feel manifesting is living.
Yes.
Manifesting is living, right?
We're doing it every moment. Every moment we're manifesting.
Every moment, because it's not something, I'm going to sit down and manifest. No, it's happening every second of the day, every moment. And if we remove space-time reality, which is an illusion anyway, so it's just what is. It's the isness of that, of all of this. So it's not about let's sit down, I'll teach you how to manifest. It's how we can live and attract experiences. They're pleasing, people that are lovely to hang out with. But even more than that, it also ties in with understanding your true nature, because once you understand your true nature, then manifesting is kind of like, it's an automatic happening. You know what I mean? But with the specific tools, I also guide in that book how I did it myself, how I manifested that book, what technique did I use. So I go into details as well.
Yeah, beautiful. And when you say your true nature, could you elaborate on that? I mean, as a yogini, I believe our true nature is just, divine energy. We are part of source. We are that divine flame within the source, God energy, whatever you want to call the creator, put inside of us. So, and when you realize that, we are made in the image of God, and God is the creator. So we can create, we manifest, we are creating everything, every moment. So yes, elaborate that about the true self.
Absolutely. When I talk about true nature, let's take an example of the sun for a moment. It will be easier for me to explain. The sun is always shining. The nature of the sun is just to shine. It's just what is, right? So it can get veiled with the clouds, with everything that objective, so to speak, comes and covers it. So it gets veiled. And, but the veiling itself does not mean that the sun is not shining, because it's the nature of the sun to shine. So just like you talked about divine energy, our true nature is peace and happiness, and that shining of that peace and happiness. So I also want to outline that, sometimes people use the words, I feel peace. And I would say, I am peace. It's not something we have to attain or some experience that will bring it to us. It's just a revelation, the recognition of that, what I'm looking for, I am already that. As you know, Neville Goddard referred a lot to I am, right? From the Bible. I am. And after I am, you say, I am Jane, I am Joanne, I am a teacher, I am a doctor, and so on. First comes I am. And that's what, if I would bring a parallel here with the sun, is just shining. It's self-luminous. It doesn't have to do anything to illuminate itself. And that's what I mean by true nature, because peace and happiness, it's what's so natural and to us and who we are. We feel like the objective experiences can bring us a moment of peace or a moment of happiness, but it's actually our natural state, so to speak, all the time. It just gets veiled by experiences, by certain sense perceptions, emotions, feelings, whatever is happening in the
Yes.
the 3D movie, so to speak.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
And it's like a remembering, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
A remembering of who we are. We are naturally already that, but it's a remembering. And I feel that society has done us a disservice in the social conditioning for so many years of, sinning in the religion. We are sinners. We are not good enough. You know, it's covered that divinity. It's covered that peace, hasn't it? You know, and that's why you're taking the layers away and, you know, that beautiful sun. It's the sun within, isn't it? It's the sun within, like you said. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's like, I've always been the sun. I've always been, when I was 5 years old, I called myself the same experience, but I look different. So the body changed, the experiences changed, the place where I am changed. But what is that I that hasn't changed? That awareness that hasn't changed of my experiences. And that's what our true nature. And you're absolutely right about the society, because it's that programming. I talk about that in the book also, how to unhook yourself from that programming, and remember who you are, because it's that, you know, conditioning since we're little. This is how it is. This is how it is. So then we break that programming by, like you said, removing these layers and just like, oh, wait a minute. I've always been here. Mm-hmm. I've always been here, you know, being born, so to speak, like illusion of being born, dying. It's a beautiful experience, but nevertheless, I've always been here. Mm. So, and that's what I mean by our true nature.
Yeah. And that is the point of power. That is, as you say, empowerment, you know, to be in that state. That's the point of empowerment, isn't it? Where manifestation is effortless. Whereas you said you don't have to try, you know, so hard. And I really just love Neville Goddard, as you said, and he's always talking about, you know, be in the end. So be what you truly are, as if you're already living it, as if the wish is already fulfilled. Go to the end. Anything that happens, any challenges, just keep going to the end, doesn't he? You know, and live it as if you are living from it. Mm.
Yes. Yes. And I think Neville tapped even back then. I feel like I would say he came back from the future. It's like he traveled back from the future and shared his wisdom, because it's even these days, it's so even more powerful probably than back when he was teaching.
Definitely.
And living in the end, I think he relates it to recognition that you already have everything you need. That is fulfillment. There is no sense of lack. And this is important, and including when it comes to manifestation. You know, we can have personal and personal desires, right? So a personal desire would be, I need to have this because there's some sort of a sense of lack. And that's why it wouldn't manifest, right? Impersonal desire would be that I am already that. So there's no sense of lack. And of course, these desires, they're going to be manifesting. We call them manifesting, but they just are, you know. So I think he tapped into that, I am already that, which is, I am always been my true nature. Is that's the recognition of all of that, like you said, remembering of all of that. And I love how he just tied it all in this way, you know.
It's beautiful. And assumption, that's assuming, tell us a little bit about that. It's the same, isn't it? Assuming you are already that.
Yes, yes. I would even say now that I didn't talk about that in a book, but right now I would have said, you know, assuming, aka remembering your true nature.
Yes.
You know, but we might have to go to remembering through assuming first. You know, so and yes, I am. It always comes back to I am. And no matter what happens, I am is I am. It stays, it never goes anywhere. So that when we're veiled by all of these subjective experiences, so for a moment, maybe we forgot, but then it's like this assumption came, oh, hold on a minute. I remember who I am. And then you can use that as something for specific if you have desires that don't come from a sense of lack. And those desires are usually very beautiful desires that not only helping you, but helping others as well. It's just amazing. I look back how everything got manifested and how, including this book, let's say, was one of the examples that the desire was not just on my behalf. The desire was to help other people to have that information as well. Yeah. So it's just trust it. Just trust it.
That's a big word, trust.
It's all taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's already there. Yeah. It's so simple, isn't it? It really is so simple. You know, we make it so complicated. You know, people make it so complicated, but it's not. You know, it's just stripping away the limited things that no longer serve, that keep you at, you know, it's dissolving of the ego as well, isn't it? Because we have a choice. It's the eternal battle of our true nature with the ego self. That's the battle that everyone sort of like has. It's a choice as well. When we wake up in the morning, are we going to go with our beautiful true nature and have this beautiful experience and feel these feelings and manifest and do all this, you know, or are we going to let the darkness overtake us and go down into that lack, as you said?
Yes, absolutely. It is simple. It is easy. It's just remembering that it is, you know, we don't have to make it complicated. And there are a lot of strategies, tools, techniques, traditions, and they're all helpful to purify our mind. But really, it's that simple remembrance that I am already that. I've been always already that, you know? So, and that's what the simplicity of all of that. When you get it, it's like, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to, the mind loves to complicate, as you know it, right? The mind loves to make a big deal out of everything, you know, use the logic and so on. But it is just this awareness. I breathe. I notice. I am aware at this moment. How do I know I am aware? It's not my brain that knows, right? It's just that if you ask yourself, am I aware? All of a sudden your mind goes into like, it cannot answer it, but you know that you're aware. Yes. Because your answer is yes. It's no question. So what is that? It's not even what am I aware of? It's simply I am aware at this moment. That's right.
It's like the soul behind the thoughts, you know, the true self. There's the soul, isn't it? Behind them thoughts, behind, you know, in this body, you know, it's, and, you know, we do get taken off into that thinking place, you know, they come in and then come. That's why it's so important, as you said, to have that quiet, silent time to just be. And talking about the mind, tell us about the mental, you call it the 14-day mental diet. That's a beautiful, I love it. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, like with any diet, let's say if we restrict certain things we don't want to eat because they might not be good for our body, for our well-being, right? The same way we can practice a mental diet and make it maybe even like an experiment, see what happens, right? Like little scientists, because you know, when we consume something that is unhealthy for our body, we feel it afterwards, right? So the same way when we consume something mentally that is unhealthy, let's say for sensitive people especially, it could be a lot of news, mainstream news, maybe something violent. They cannot stand violent movies, a lot of depressing movies. It is just like I would say big no-no, especially at the beginning. Just to avoid it, you know. In my book, I give the steps how to do it gradually. Also, what we consume via social media, the fact that we consume and mindlessly scroll, it's also one of the indicators that we're in this programming and in anxiety, basically, you know, anxious programming. So when we become more mindful about what we consume mentally, we become selective, just like with food. When we start loving our body, we start nurturing our body, giving the vitamins, the minerals that life minerals that would actually help it flourish, right? So the same way we first remove just like with a diet, with a food-based diet, remove first something that is not healthy for our mind, and then we introduce more of something that helps us. One of the things is spending time alone, doing walks in nature, and I outline a lot more things, but it's a gradual thing. It's in my book, it's 14 days, but I say, if you feel like it, keep going, keep removing, keep adding, and because you cannot expect it to be just like with a food diet. You have to detox first,
Yeah.
So it just allows some time to go through uncomfortable feelings, go through uncomfortable emotions, and allow and sit with them, be with them. It's important.
Yes, that's right. You have to embrace them, because the darkness is as much a part of us as the light, isn't it? We have that, in us. We can't always be love and light and no, because we don't live in a world like that. We are in this world of duality with the light and dark, masculine and feminine, good and bad. And we have to find that balance within. So yeah, embracing them dark feelings and negative, because the light, out of darkness comes the true gold. We learn so much from that, don't we? It's so,
yes,
it's beautiful. So yeah, it's all about, the toxicity, isn't it? The toxic thoughts, the toxic food, the toxic feelings, if we can become aware of them,
yes.
I love that. What you said about the mental diet's brilliant.
Yeah. And, absolutely, about light and darkness. A Course in Miracles says, you bring the darkness to the light, not the other way around, not the light to the darkness. So it is important to understand the whole picture and embrace the whole picture. Absolutely. And yes, it's not about all love and light and cupcakes and rainbows. Nobody has that. Even if someone claims they,
yeah, that's right.
Possible. You're still in human form, temporary human form. Yeah.
Wow. Yes, of course. And, please. So can you just elaborate a little bit about how do we know, what are the classic signs of being an empath, and how can we use that into helping others?
One of the classic signs would be that you can feel different one moment, and then you go somewhere, especially crowded places, you feel different. You feel more like antisocial maybe for a while. You've been feeling that way simply because you feel what's going on undercurrents from another person. You tune in constantly, and it can be just too much data constantly. So it can feel overwhelming. Empath also, they don't like to act. They don't want to act necessarily. Just if they don't feel good, they cannot fakely smile. Like, it's not something they want to do. But society praises it, right? Like, that's in the United States, how we get, how are you? How are you? Good. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
How we really are, nobody asks. So, so it's kind of like a social standard. But empaths are very good listeners. They go deeper. They tune in. They're really amazing friends. They're not just grasping on the surface. They really want to know about you. How you really feel. Talk to me. They'll be like, okay, talk to me. Let's have some tea. And that can be challenging because they would assume everybody's like that. And then they go in the world, and most people are not wired this way. They can go to loud places, concerts, and party and so on. Empath can't. But then they start blaming themselves because they don't fit in. There's a whole chapter I wrote about that. They don't fit in, and they feel like I have to. And it's detrimental for empath to try to fit in. It's the signal to understand what's happening here.
And I feel that, this is a time, this this awakening, this naturalness, it's really bringing up the darkness within us and in the world for us to see. And it's like I believe, especially for empaths, we've all been going through a very dark night of the soul where, I think that the whole world is going through a collective dark night of the soul as well. So, but I think us empaths, we do go through many, many sufferings in life or many challenges in life. And, from young. And I think that it's a preparing. It's like a preparing of ourselves, like the divine comes in. And I mean, it's a letting go of karma. That's a big one. Because we're in this world, which is a karmic universe that we live in. So we have to let go. We have to suffer which is good, because when we let go of our karma, we build our virtue. As I said, can you just, it is really sad that us empaths, that we have to go through so many challenges and so much suffering, and it's just a massive dark night of the soul. Could you elaborate a little bit about that? Why you feel that we suffer quite a lot, or we have to go through challenges so much?
Well, I do believe that everyone goes through challenges and suffering. However, empaths are more receptive to it. They feel it more. They feel it. For them, it's kind of like a wake-up call, versus for someone else who is not highly sensitive, they might ignore it, bottle it down, not take it as a sign to actually look within. And it's actually part of the gift as well, I believe. We all have our uniquely designed challenges in life, uniquely designed suffering in life. But it stops being a suffering once it's recognized as a suffering. And that's where empath, they're just so sensitive and to all of that. Plus, I feel these uniquely designed challenges help them to learn a great deal of again, everything helps you trace you back to your nature. So then I feel, especially empath, they want to share it with others as well. So it's almost like, when someone asks me, what's your definition of a light worker? For me, it's like passing a torch. You light it up, you pass it down, Yeah. So I feel that's what empaths do. They light it up, they remember who they are, they pass it down.
That is so beautiful, because once we turn our light on, others can see the light and shine too. They can start shining, and then everyone starts shining, and it's a passing on of that. And that is a beautiful way to put it. It really is. Yes. And just for the last couple of minutes, can you give our audience some guidance, some everyday guidance on how to, or our empaths who are listening to this, who they think that they're an empath, on how to empower themselves every day?
If I would have to choose one rule or an advice, because I have so much, that's why I wrote a book.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all in the book. But if I would have to say one thing, it would be, don't run away from who you are, from being highly emotional, from being highly sensitive. Sit with it. Sit with your feelings. Sit with your emotions. Or realize it's a gift that you can catch it, because you're highly sensitive. So because you can catch that uncomfortable emotion, you have the opportunity to sit with it and dissolve it and move forward. So when you start viewing it that way, that actually it's not a curse, actually it's a gift, and it comes with its challenges, of course. I would even say, if you're home and something uncomfortable arises at the moment, notice what's your first reaction. Scroll through social media, turn on TV, turn up the music. What kind of stimulation do you need at that moment? And I would suggest sit with it if you can. Maybe even allocate certain space in your house, in your room, in your home, where you can actually say, I'm just going to sit on my couch. That's what I do, actually. If I stay at home and something arises, I, so to speak, activate my self-awareness. And I notice, like, what's my first mind thing that mind wants to do, right? So I go back and I just sit with those feelings. It may seem like it's unbearable, but it's actually not that bad. Mm. And that way we remove that buildup, day by day by day, remove that buildup. Mm. And also allow yourself time alone. Mm. Allow yourself to do what you enjoy the most. Give yourself that, because how else are you going to connect to that joy that is within? Mm. By being yourself as a highly sensitive person, it's really helpful. Yeah. Maybe even every day, like you can say, my schedule 30 minutes, I have to be by myself, whether it's before, after work, during, whatever you can do, wherever you can find time. And just remember that you are that self-luminous sun that always shining. It's nothing you have to do for that. It's who you are.
Wow. I think that is the perfect place to end this. That was just so beautiful, really is. And I just want to say, Jane, thank you for being on the Great Awakening Show.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you. Pleasure being here.
Absolutely lovely. So, Jane, I will edit this and then it's going to go out. We put it on the radio. It will come out hopefully next week. It goes out, and we've got the UK Health Radio. It's got 1.3 million listeners, but then it goes out on Apple and Spotify, on our UK Health Radio podcast, which goes out to just 20 different podcast channels. And also I put it on, I've got a Rumble channel that we put all of our videos on as well. So I'll send you the video and the radio. But thank you so much, Jane. It was wonderful. And thank you for writing your book.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. It's been a pleasure connecting with you. Yes. So if you can send me all of the links, I'll share it on my social media as well.
Wonderful. I will.
So everybody definitely can see it.
Yeah.
That would be great.
And well done for choose for Watkins as well. I love Watkins Bookshop.
Oh, they're so sweet. Oh my goodness. I
know.
I was just actually writing part of my manifesting story. It's like, I wanted to work with people like that feels like home. That's what I got. It was incredible. Exactly. Because some publishers, it can be just so big and just like you can, you're not taken care of well there,
Watkins is brilliant. The oldest 100-year mind, body, spirit bookshop in London, I go there a lot. It's like beautiful.
I've been there actually a couple of weeks ago. I visited my book launch.
I know.
It's such a beautiful place.
It's great. Oh, well.
Where are you based? Are you based in London?
Yes, I am. We're not far from London Bridge here. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Awesome.
So I just want to say thank you so much, and I'll be sending it to you soon. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too, Joanne. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you. It's lovely to have met you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.